Welcome into Hockey Sense, everybody. How we doing? I'm Andy Strickland. The season is here. Listen, we've been saying the last couple of weeks, hey, the season will get here soon. Hockey's in the air. Well, now it's officially here, and it hit us right in the face, did it not? I mean, with the season opener on Thursday night against the Minnesota Wild, the Blues lose in that one, 5-0 the final. We will talk about it. We'll also look forward to tomorrow afternoon in Calgary, Monday in Vancouver before the Blues come back home. They've got a nice little homestand waiting for them starting next week with Chicago. That's a TNT game, I believe, next Wednesday, so we won't be doing the game on FanDuel Sports Network. As always, Hockey Sense is brought to you by First Community. You know we love First Community. So make your savings work for you. We always tell you, hey, it's all about saving money. So if you have money sitting around on a savings account, what are you doing with it? I mean, answer that question for me. Invest it. With as little as $500, you can open a certificate of deposit, earn over 5%, which is a really good rate. 5% is a great rate, and unlike most high-risk investments, your money's totally safe because it's guaranteed. And we love guaranteed money. So if you don't want to tie up all your money, you should consider a money management account, an MMA. So the more you invest, the higher rate, and there is no monthly charge. The more you invest, the higher the rate, no monthly charge or service charge. You got to love that. Completely accessible to you, your money is. Check out firstcommunity.com. Do it today. I don't know what to make out of the season opener. We'll get into it with Jamal Mayers coming up later in the show. We got to catch the plane later on today to Calgary. So, during the course of the season, Hockey Sense, especially on these travel days, it'll most likely be me and Jamal just kind of kicking it around, although we'll still have plenty of guests for you throughout the course of the season. Listen, the way the game started, the Blues took some penalties early, so they were kind of on their heels, but the way they killed the penalties was really impressive, and that was a positive. Justin Falk took the first penalty of the game, but the way the Blues killed it, you just felt like maybe they'd be able to create some momentum off of that. But it didn't necessarily go that way. I thought the Blues had plenty of chances. You know, that shift that Robert Thomas had where he had a kind of a one-on-one situation with the goaltender, didn't even get a shot on goal, I don't think. Tried to make a move to his forehand and just kind of waited too long. I think if he comes in and shoots, you know, I think that certainly gives him a better option or a better opportunity to score, considering he didn't get a shot on goal. But that just looked like the best option there. Maybe could have beaten the goaltender, Philip Gustafson, who played great for Minnesota. But I will say, when the Blues had a couple of power play chances in the second period, where were those shots going? They were going right into the crest. I mean, he didn't have to really work very hard. And again, when Jim Montgomery's talking about net front, and listen, the net front's important at both ends of the ice. It is every single game. Doesn't matter if it's the first game of the season or the 82nd game. We're going to be saying the same thing. You got to win those battles in front. And if you can win the net front, chances are you're going to have some success, both defending and obviously finding those rebounds and getting those second chances. But we just didn't see much of that. You know, sometimes I think defensively you got to be a little more patient with the puck up top, allow players to arrive, get those screens, look for those deflections. When you're shooting and nobody's there and the goaltender has a clean look at it, he's going to make the save 100 out of 100 times at this level in the National Hockey League. So, listen, it's game one. You don't want to go too crazy. There were some things I did like. I thought Jordan Carver had some jump. I thought Holloway at times had some jump. Tyler Tucker had 5 shots on goal. I think you're still trying to establish some chemistry with some guys. And, you know, the Blues just didn't look like there was a whole lot of that going on. Even Jimmy Snuggerud, who started the game playing on the top line with, if you want to call it the top line. I mean, you got to call it the top line, I guess, if Robert Thomas is your center, with him and Buchnevich. But it was a pretty quick change. I think in the second period they make the change, didn't they? And Jake Neighbors slid up top. And I was talking to Jake about this, actually, about a week or two ago, and I said, you know, things change so quickly. I mean, you can say you're going to be on the third line with Suter, and all of a sudden you're bumped up to the first line in the first game, and that's exactly what happened. You know, Snuggerud just, I don't want to say he looked nervous, but, you know, wasn't handling passes cleanly, had a turnover at one point in time. And so maybe sometimes for a young player, you just slide him down. Maybe there's less pressure, and that can allow him to settle in playing with Suter and Joseph. But I'm sure Snuggerud's going to get plenty more opportunity playing up top, and they're going to give him that chance. Um, Logan Mailloux had his first game, and there were some positives, and there were some, shifts he'd probably like to have back. Let me say this about Logan Mailloux, because people need to understand. I'm already hearing it. I'm seeing it. You have Zachary Bolduc has 3 goals, I think, in 2 games. He had 2 last night. And Montreal looks really, really good. They look fast. They've got a lot of really strong offensive players, some creative offensive players, a lot of skill on that team. And they're built a little bit differently than St. Louis. So Bolduc's going to score. He is a goal scorer. He did it in junior. He had, back-to-back 50-goal seasons. This guy knows how to put the puck in the net. I know everyone wants to be quick to judge the trade today, Mailloux for Bolduc, but this is truly going to have to be one of those deals that I think you analyze moving forward, maybe 2 or 3 years down the road, But it is interesting. I think the one spot the Blues were looking to fill during training camp was the spot that was vacated by Zachary Bolduc. And you're going to have some good right shot defensemen coming into the organization with, Adam Urasek. But I go back to Chris Pronger, and again, I'm not comparing Logan Mailloux to Chris Pronger, so please don't put words into my mouth. Let's not do that. But you do have to be patient with the young defenseman. Remember when Pronger was getting booed and he really struggled? He was traded for a scoring winger. The guy was a little more popular than Bolduc and Brendan Shanahan, but still, they traded him for a guy who could put the puck in the net and who was considered a really good player. And Pronger really had a hard time adjusting. He was a young player, and it took him some time to develop, and then eventually he did and became arguably the best defenseman of his era and in the National Hockey League outside of Nicholas Lidstrom. But it did take some time. And again, I'm not saying that Logan Mailloux is going to develop into a Norris Trophy winner or a Hart Trophy winner. I'm not saying that. But he came into last night's game with 8 career games in the National League. 8. 7 last year. He had 1 game played the year before. And I've said several times that there are going to be bumps in the road with him, specifically in the defensive end. And it may take him some time to find his groove. And this season could be a year where he doesn't necessarily find the top of his game. Now, he's going to have stretches where he does. And Bolduc may finish the year with 25 or 30 goals. Who knows? And people are going to start to panic, and I get it. And the Monday morning quarterback is in full effect. But with all of that being said, you have to give this one time. When I say time, I'm talking 2-3 years down the road for this kid to truly develop. He turned 22 just a few months ago. I think he's going to be 22 throughout the course of the entire season. I don't think he turns 23 until late April or something like that. Had to double check his birthday. So just be patient with Mailloux. I'm not saying you accept mediocre play or poor performances. I would never tell you to do that. I mean, fans have every right to react the way that they want to react. But all I'm trying to say is the true evaluation for Mailloux as an NHL defenseman, it really won't be complete until we get through the next couple of seasons. So we will be revisiting this one throughout the course of the year. Jordan Binnington, listen, it's a tough start. Whenever you give up 5 goals, you don't like to see that. But with that being said, I mean, a lot of crazy bounces. I mean, pucks bouncing right in front of him, quick rebounds. He just didn't really have much of a chance on a couple of these, most of them. We'll see who gets the start in Calgary. This could be a start where Hofer gets the start against Calgary, where the Blues have had a lot of success. I think they've won 8 of their last 9 in Calgary. So hopefully they can get the offense going and get their first victory of the season. Because when you talk to coaches, even in the preseason, I know no one likes to overreact to the preseason. When you lose your first 3 or 4 preseason games, I think the easy reaction is to say, who cares? It doesn't count. It's just preseason. But winning is a feeling more than anything. And preseason, regular season, whatever, it doesn't really matter. You want to have that winning feeling. I think that goes a long way. And Hopefully, the Blues can establish that, get that winning feeling, and come back from this 2-game trip feeling good about themselves before they settle in for a long homestand beginning with Chicago, like I said, next Wednesday. So that's where we're at. I thought Kyrou had jump. I thought he looked good. And then it was just kind of a penalty parade. I mean, too much going on. And again, we talked about the net front. I think the Blues had 4 inner slot shots on goal throughout the course of the game. 4. I mean, that's just not good enough. I don't think anybody had more than 1. Kyrou had some rush chances. He was able to beat some defenders one-on-one. He was able to get tight with the goaltender, and Gustafsson made some great saves. But those are going to start going in, as you know. It's only a matter of time. And I thought Parayko came out just on fire. Go back and watch his first couple of shifts. He was all over the ice. I mean, it was just crazy. Like he was shot out of a cannon. And again, when you take penalties early in a game, it can just completely take you out of your rhythm. Even if you kill them off and you maybe gain some momentum, some energy from the fan base after you kill off a penalty. I just think it disrupts your rotation. Certain guys aren't involved in the PK. They're sitting on the bench. They're getting cold. All that type of stuff takes place. It just disrupts a lot of things. They got to stay out of the box starting in Calgary. So I don't want to make it all doom and gloom. You could be San Jose this morning. Did you see how they lost to the Vegas Golden Knights? Big shout out to John Kelly, by the way, who called that game on ESPN. I just can't believe how San Jose lost that. I mean, they had a chance, forgot who it was, to close the game out with an empty netter, and they had at least 2 chances to put the puck in the empty net, and they couldn't do it. And then not only does Vegas come down the other way and score, I mean, it was such a fluky goal with Jack Eichel just throwing the puck on net, and somehow it squeaks through Nedeljkovic's pads. And that forces overtime. They go to OT, and did you see how San Jose lost that game? I mean, you got to be kidding me. Listen, I'm all for patting the goaltender on the head and saying, great job. We should have been better in front of you. It's not your fault. Personally, I think we're too easy on goaltenders too often. I think when a goaltender doesn't play well, you just have to say, hey, listen, they were terrible in that game. That's a terrible performance by the goaltender to lose a game in that situation. Go look at the overtime goal. Nedeljkovic tried to come out and play the puck, and I don't know what he was doing. Just gave it to a Vegas Golden Knights player. And I think it was Riley Smith who ends up getting the game winner for Vegas on an empty net. And just a terrible decision by the goaltender. If you're going to come out, that's got to be a hard clear. I don't know what he was trying to do. Plus, he hesitated. And it just wasn't good all around. Ton of games last night, though. Vancouver looks good. At least they did last night. So the Blues play Calgary. Calgary's 1-1 on the season. They won a shootout in the first game of the year against Edmonton, and then they were able to get Vancouver beats them 5-1. Some interesting teams have gotten off to some successful starts here in the early going. Boston's won a couple of games. The Rangers lose their season opener against Pittsburgh, but then they come back and they shut out Buffalo. Pittsburgh's won their first 2 games. Montreal's feeling confident. Ottawa beats Tampa Bay on the road. So, and even Florida, man. Florida just knows how to win games. They're missing Barkov. They don't have Tkachuk. And this is the thing about the Florida Panthers. When you talk about teams that can kind of beat you in any way, right? You want to play run and gun, they'll beat you 6-5. You want to play a tight defensive game, they can do that. If it's a special teams game, they can win in that fashion. If it comes down to goaltending, they can do that too. I mean, here they are winning 2 one-goal games to begin the season. They beat Chicago by a 1-goal game, and then they beat Philadelphia last night 2-1 the final there. And here they are 2-0 to begin the season, winning low-scoring, tight-checking games. They can do it all. Matthew Schaefer gets his first NHL assist, first point against Pittsburgh. Crosby gets a couple of points in that game. Nashville gets a victory. Ryan O'Reilly gets another power play goal. I just love watching this guy operate in tight next to the goaltender. He's so good at getting that puck elevated, under the bar, in tight. That's where the puck has to go in that situation. What a game last night with Dallas and Winnipeg. You talk about 2 high-powered teams. I mean, this Central Division is going to be just such a tall task. I mean, the three-headed monster up top between Colorado, Winnipeg, and Dallas, I mean, they are all so good. Colorado looked great again. But again, they win a 2-1 game, but their big dogs are scoring goals for them, but they found a way to win their first two games. First game against LA, they pounded the Kings on the opening night for the NHL. But Dallas and Winnipeg, it's just like all the best players just stepping up here in the early going. But again, it's just one game, so nobody's overreacting here. Jonathan Toews, by the way, plays his first game in a couple of years. Got a great standing ovation and played over 18 minutes in the game. Wow. Won 46% of his faceoffs. I've seen some reaction from some former players online who are saying, hey, listen, if I had to miss a full year of hockey, I would be dead. I think it was Keith Yandel that said that. I think most former players would say that. Like, to take a full year or two off and then come back and play in the National Hockey League, that is just insanity. We'll get into all this stuff with Jamal Mayers. I'm looking forward to getting his take on everything and where things are at. And hopefully we can get an idea of how the Blues can get back on the right track against Calgary, and I think they will. They just got to find that chemistry. I think Suter and Bukestad and some of these guys, it's just new faces, and trying to establish that with one another, I think will take some time. And the Blues know they have to be better defensively, but they've got to find a way to play on the inside in the offensive end. They had a lot of point shots, a lot of shots from the outside. They're not getting to rebounds. And that's the name of the game. That's how you win in the National Hockey League. So we'll see how that goes. We got lots to get into with Jamal Mayers coming up. Hope you enjoyed this edition of Hockey Sense. I hope you had fun down at the Enterprise Center last night. Listen, it's always a great atmosphere. I love the season opener. And getting a chance to see the fans once again. A ton of people showed up to the pep rally prior to the game at Union Station. And people are into it, there's no doubt. So now let's get the first victory. Hopefully next week, on next week's edition of Hockey Sense, we'll have some more positive things to talk about when we get into breaking down the St. Louis Blues. I thought Holloway had some jump too. Those two guys just play so fast together. I mean, you're not going to be able to keep them down very long. Expect Holloway and Kyrou to come back from this two-game trip with some points in their back pocket. I will say this about Minnesota. I mean, their top line is good. The way they spread you out and the chemistry they have with Rossi and Boldy, and then obviously Kaprizov, who's just a magician with the puck. I mean, he moves the puck so quickly. You know, you always hear about anticipation and the ability to read plays and know what you're going to do with the puck before you even get it. And that's one thing that Kaprizov is as good as anybody in the world at getting the puck on a stick and off a stick as quickly as possible without shooting it. I mean, just with a pass. He just knows exactly where he's going to go with it. So, you know, some of these guys, man, Kucherov, Kaprizov, they're just one step ahead when you watch them play. So, wasn't great for Blues and their fans, but they're fun hockey players to watch. That Matt Boldy's going to be a hell of a player for USA coming up at the Olympics. By the way, speaking of the Wild, General Manager Billy Guerin, he sat down with me and Cam Jansen on the Cam and Strick podcast, so we'll have that for you next week. If you haven't checked out this week's episode, Tony Twist and Kelly Chase in studio. Some people are calling it the best episode we've ever had. I don't know if Cam and I would agree with that. We've had so many incredible ones, but when you get two iconic names and iconic figures in Blues history in studio together. And, you know, there was a long period of time you weren't saying Twist without saying Chase and vice versa. And people love hearing from both those guys. They could tell stories for days. I interviewed Kelly Chase on the Jumbotron last night at the game between the second and third period. And it's just so great to see the reaction that the fans give this guy. I mean, it was an unbelievable response from the fans. And Kelly loves that, man. There's no question. I mean, he is one tough SOB, man. To be able to go through what this guy is going through. Now he's having issues with his eye. He opened up about that with us on our podcast. So he's hardly able to see out of his left eye. And for him to just find his way down to the rink, keep a positive attitude, take kids around the rink, and the stuff that he's doing is just incredible. It's inspirational, to be honest with you. And so obviously he continues his fight, and we fight right there with him, man. Great to see Kelly Chase at the rink last night. But check out that interview that we did, Cam and I, with Tony Twist and Kelly Chase in studio on the Cam and Strick podcast, baby. All right, Hockey Sense brought to you by First Community. Also, Dirt Cheap Fun Fun, your one-stop party shop. Get the delivery. You don't have to leave your house. They'll deliver it to you. And you use the promo code BLUES. I think you get free delivery. How nice is that? You don't have to pay for your delivery. I think they'll deliver as long as you're within 10 miles of one of the Dirt Cheap locations. And there's so many locations, chances are that you're within 10 miles. So get there and get there today. Dirt Cheap Fun Fun, your one-stop party shop. Don't sleep on their party supplies, all their party goods, man, all the paper goods. If you got Halloween parties and stuff like that coming up soon, get there and get everything you need. Decorations, they have more than you can even dream of. Best selection of beer, wine, and booze as well. So you can load up and stock up at Dirt Cheap, your one-stop party shop, baby. Cheap, cheap, fun, fun. Blue Note Roofing, 314-920-5713. My main man, David Novak, is flat out getting it done. Wind, hail, any type of damage that you had. If your roof is getting older, I think some of these insurance companies won't pay for a new roof if it's 10 years or older. So if you're approaching that day, look into it with your insurance company. Get that new roof while they're going to pay for it. So let David Novak come out and give you that free estimate and check it out for you. 314-920-5713. I saw David at the game last night. You know he's having fun. Nobody supports hockey in this town more than Blue Note Roofing and First Community, by the way, because First Community Credit Union is just unbelievable. So is Mark Cooper with Cross Country Mortgage. You know, 1 in every 35 mortgages in the country are closed by Cross Country Mortgage. So if you're going to close a mortgage, do it with Mark Cooper. 314-713-4377. He's got great programs for first responders, and I love that, man. So if you're critically injured or worst case scenario, killed in the line of duty, you can put your head on the pillow at night and rest peacefully knowing that your family will be taken care of because the cross-country mortgage will cover your mortgage up to $525,000. That's incredible. Up to $525,000 they will cover your mortgage with cross-country mortgage, which is absolutely incredible. So look into that today. Plus, loans are at their lowest that they've been since the last calendar year over the course of the last 12 months. That's unbelievable as well. So cross-country mortgage, they've got great rates. They've got rates in the 5s for 15-year loans. You can get them in the low to mid 6s for these 30-year loans. But use my name. You mention Hockey Sense and no closing costs, and they waive all the fees for the refinances too. So if you're looking to refinance, do it with Cross Country Mortgage. Do it today. They'll waive all the fees. Listen, when I say waive the fees, I'm talking about saving you north of $2,000 out of your pocket. So do it and do it today. Be smart. Again, Cross Country Mortgage, Mark Cooper, 314-713-4377, baby. All right, this is Hockey Sense brought to you by First Community. Let's take a break. When we come back, Jamal Mayers. He joins me next here on Hockey Sense. The Blues are headed out on the road. The wins will come. Don't panic. Just one game. We'll talk to Jammer next. Don't go anywhere. All right, back here on Hockey Sense. Great to have you with us as always. Jamal Mayers with us in Chicago. Out of town for youth hockey this weekend. And, you know, Jammer, listen, there's a lot of hype, a lot of excitement coming into the season. And you lose the first one and, you know, handily. I mean, you lose 5-0 at home. How do you recover from this one?
Well, that's tough. You go off, preseason long. It's training camp. Obviously, Monty's able to instill what he really wants his team to look like. And then you get your first game at home opener. That's a tough one. I always try to find the positive. It's a long season, but to lose 5-0 at home, and you could point to a number of things, and obviously getting outworked is not a good thing to have happen when you're at home, especially. But you know, this will now allow him to have their attention even greater. So they'll be going over the video. They won't spend too much time on it. But most importantly, how do they respond as a group and who are they? And this will be really critical as how they respond in the next game.
Yeah, they took some penalties early, but they were able to kill those off. And then even with the power plays that they got in the second period, they had some good looks. But I mean, Gustafson, I mean, he may have a couple black marks on his chest there, Jammer, just because he was able to see every shot and they were hitting him right there in the crest. I mean, you look at how these goals are scored around the NHL. If they're not deflections and rebound goals, I mean, guys just pick the corner, right? You just got to find a way to be the NHL goaltender, which I guess is easier said than done.
Yeah, I know. But you've got to get your nose dirty. And I don't think this is a veteran team. There's a lot of guys that are younger, but it's a veteran team that's been there before. And they understand that that's not the standard that they want to play with. That's not the intensity they want to be in front of the net. That's not the intensity that they want to play with. So I look for them to respond. That's for me is going to be critical. Now, if they go out and have a tough outing again, then there's cause for concern. But I think it's so early. We're just starting the season. It really stinks that it's your home opener, and that's the kind of game that you put out there.
Hey, I'm just curious, when you look at the stats after the game and analytics too, obviously, that are a huge part of it. Like, what's the most telling stat that you try to look at when you're looking at the stats? What's the first stat you go to?
Well, for me, it's chances for, chances against. It's not so much the shots. The shots can be misleading because I'll give you an example. You could have allowed only 20 shots, but you allowed 12 grade A chances. And so I think that's how teams evaluate it. I don't even look at plus minus.
Mm-hmm.
I think teams nowadays, even at the end of my career, they would go through each goal and they would assign blame, if you will. So whoever was at fault. Now, if I'm hanging out with my defenseman defensively at the blue line and the centerman gets walked out of the corner and the D makes a poor read net front, those two are assigned at fault. And so I think it gets a little bit misleading with the plus minus. So I would stay away from that number. I think teams do a great job of doing their own deeper dive and figuring out what the issues were. And I can assure you that Monty knew right away what was going on and how to fix it. So, but the good thing is he has their attention. Their practice will be crisp. The practices will be more intense, and there's opportunity for him to set the standard with this group. And the best and most important commodity that he has as a coach is ice time. So if you want your ice time to go up, play the right way, do the right things. I always looked at it like an opportunity, being a third or fourth line guy, to eat away some minutes.
Yeah, the Blues actually had a more high danger chances in the game. They had 16 to Minnesota's 11 with high danger chances. Chances out the cycle, off the rush, both in the favor of the Blues. I mean, so, but then again, the turnover scoring chances were in favor of Minnesota. So sometimes, you get a team like Minnesota with their top line, Jamal, with Boldy and Kaprizov, and then you have Rossi also playing with them. All three of those guys had great games. They will take advantage of that, right? You turn pucks over, you're sloppy in your own end defensively. I mean, Kaprizov's ability, I talked about this before you came on the show here. He just knows where he's putting the puck, what he's going to do with it before he even gets it. Like, the puck's hardly on a stick, Jammer.
He's a special player, and that's why he's, the best highest state player. He is a special player, not a big guy, understands his edges, plays with a ferocity, plays with an intensity that you wouldn't think, but for being his size, he is hard on pucks. He is a competitor, and he's a special player. And I don't think I think Boldy is sneaky good. Like, this guy is so skilled for how big he is, so smart, a really quick release. Actually, one of my most favorite young players in the NHL today. He's a special player that I think he's still just scratching the surface of what he's going to be.
I know, man. I actually told Billy Guerin that he kind of reminds me of Billy Guerin's game, and Billy's like, no, 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 he's way, way better than I was, But I mean, just in terms of kind of how they move around the ice and their ability to shoot the puck and how they score, there's this. I don't know. I thought maybe I saw some similarities there, but Kaprizov, there's no doubt. I mean, $17 million a year. And, I was talking to Billy G about this last week. I mean, you negotiate a deal like that. How does that come together? And I think when you're a general manager, I love the way that he put this, Jamal, because, Edmonton has their guy, right? Other teams have their superstar. And it's hard to get your hands on a superstar. And
Right.
some would say, well, why are you going to pay him 17 million? Why? He's our guy. And that's how Billy G put it. He's like, he's our guy. Listen, is it a lot of money? Yeah, but every team who's going to win, you got to have a guy, and he's our guy.
It's a great point. And the reality is that these players are going to have more control as they are away or as they approach unrestricted free agency. And so I think you have to ask yourself, would I rather overpay 2 or 3 million for this player and keep him? Because they don't grow on trees. This guy is a special top 10 player in the entire NHL. You're not going to find another guy like that you don't draft and develop yourself. So I think it's easy for all the people from the outside to question why we would spend that much money. But to Billy's point, where are you going to find these guys? He's our guy. So not surprised in the least. He's a special player. You can win by building around a guy like him. And he's fun to watch. He's one of the, you pay to watch a guy like that.
All right, what do you think of the contracts that were signed over the course of the last week? I mean, with him getting $17 million a year, McDavid going in a completely different direction, a 2-year deal at 12.5. You have Jack Eichel at 13.5. It's just interesting how these players are slotting themselves and how they're being paid. Anything stand out to you, and why?
Well, what's very interesting to me is that when a player who could command 20% of the cap that's going up, which is upwards of 20 million, decides to take 12.5, what I think is about to happen and going to happen in the next 3 to 4 years is you're going to see teams form super teams. Teams are going to be able to add 3 to 4 players making 10 to 12 to 13 million. Which, think about that. That sounds crazy. Only 3 years ago, that was a guy making the most on your team. Now you're going to have guys who are going to say, I'd rather take 12.5, 14, so we can fit in 4 more, 3 more, 10 million guys. Let's not forget, a lot of these guys work out together. They hang out together. They're like, hey, come visit me in my place in Vegas. Come visit me in my place here. Why not come down here, take a little less, chance to win? I think you're going to see some of that happening with different players, high-end players, take a little bit less than the market would actually allow them to make so that they can form these kind of super teams.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree, and I've said that too because McDavid and Austin Matthews, I'll use them as an example.
Yeah,
Have become
great
very good
example.
friends, and both their contracts expire in 3 years, and both are represented by the same guy. I just feel like there's something interesting going on between those two, so we'll see how that plays out. And listen, if you're making 12.5, or if you're up to 13 or 14, I mean, I guess you could just go to 17, 18, 19, 20. It's a lot of money. I mean, who am I to say that they shouldn't just get more money? But I just love sometimes the hockey player's mentality and the fact that Connor McDavid says it publicly that my family's going to have food on the table. They're not going to have trouble eating with the money that I'm making right now at 12.5.
Where, you know what? He also realizes like he wants to win. I think the term is probably more important for him. I think it's almost like hey, listen up, Edmonton. I'm giving you 3 more years. And if we don't win, I'm bye-bye. It's probably also a lot to do with the fact that Draisaitl was extended, I believe, a year ago. So it's almost like I don't want to leave him stranded. I'll give you 3 more years to get this done, and then I'm moving on. So I would hope that the people of Edmonton, if he does move on after these 3 years, treat him the way he should be treated, which is be very grateful and thankful that he got you the new building, He got you to hopefully a Stanley Cup, but to 2 finals. Like there's a lot that this guy has done for the city of Edmonton. It's just my hope that they appreciate that.
Oh, you can't be mad at him now. I mean,
That's what I need.
after these 3 years. You can't be mad at him. Like, I mean, he's done everything for you. And again, you're right. He does want to win, and that's why he signed the deal that he signed. And it's I guess some would say, oh, it doesn't make sense to say, hey, tell the team to go build a winner around him because they've gotten to the final the last couple of years, but I guess they haven't won. So, um, but I will say, Jamal, by him signing a 2-year deal, if you're a free agent, are you signing in Edmonton for 5 or 6 years? I mean, not everybody's in that position to do what McDavid did. He's coming off of a $100 million deal. He's making tens of millions of dollars off the ice. He'll make millions of dollars for the rest of his life. So no one's really, in that category or who can relate to him with that. But if you're a free agent and you're a really good player, you going to come sign for 5 years plus in Edmonton, knowing that he's going to be potentially gone in 3 years? That'll be interesting. They're going to have to do this via trade, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're a little bit right, but they might now have the ability to overpay for a guy to come for 5 years. Maybe the market's saying he's a $4 or $5 million deal, but maybe because of McDavid taking the haircut, now you can get that player for $7 million, and that player's going to be like, oh, you know what? Get to play with McDavid for 2 years. That's worth it to me.
What do you think of Eichel's deal, though, at 13.5? And you see, Marner obviously coming there. I'm surprised more people didn't find their way in that $16 million range.
Yeah, a little bit surprising, especially with Kaprizov getting that much money. I thought even just at the end of negotiations, which clearly that's where Jack Eichel was, that would push his number up a couple of million, and no one would blink if this number ended up being 15.5, right? Like 15.5, 16. So, it goes to speak to the fact that I believe hockey players, were very well-grounded people. For the most part, I think that most players have parents that raised them the right way. And when you're talking to your parents that worked their entire life, that you're contemplating not signing 13.5 because you want 16, I think most hockey players' families would encourage them just to not be greedy, enjoy where they're living, their lifestyle, and chance to win. And that's the appropriate thing to do, is to sign that contract.
Yeah, happiness is key. A couple things I want to ask you before we get out of here. First off, Jimmy Snuggerud, so much talk about him coming into this season. He was with Thomas and Buchnevich the entire camp, all of preseason, although we didn't see the top group play a ton together in the preseason. He didn't last very long on that top line last night, Jamal. Monty makes a change. He had a turnover and just looked like he was maybe a little bit nervous, and they flip-flopped him and Jake Neighbors, and Neighbors obviously is a guy who can certainly handle playing up with Thomas and Buchnevich. Would you like to see them maybe stick with them, or are you okay with that? And it's like sometimes, hey, listen, if it's not working right off the bat, maybe allow him to settle in playing with Suter and Matthew Joseph and just go play versus maybe trying to force things a little bit playing with two, high-end players.
I don't mind the approach. I think the critical part to me is that he maintains his confidence, right? So if he's able to maintain his confidence and get bumped down, get brought back up, and go back and forth, then I think it's fine. If his personality isn't conducive to him handling that the right way, where he's losing confidence, then I think Monty will adjust accordingly. I think that will be the factor to me, because I can make an argument for both, and why both ways to do it are right. I would 100% put all my eggs in the basket of how is he handling that, and is it affecting his confidence, and let that be the barometer for how I handle that situation.
Yeah, we'll see if he's back on that line when they play in Calgary tomorrow. We'll see what that looks like. I'm curious your thoughts on Logan Mailloux. Listen, because he gets traded for Bolduc. Bolduc has 3 goals in the first 2 games. So immediately the reaction is, oh my God, this is a terrible trade. Why did we do this? And I use Chris Pronger as an example, and I'm not saying Mailloux is going to be Pronger. So I'm not saying he's going to win a Norris or win a Hart Trophy, but he got traded for a goal scorer, much different category, Brendan Shanahan versus Zachary Bolduc. But I feel like with the Mayu evaluation, you, you may not truly be able to evaluate this trade for another year or two. He's 22. He just turned 22. Came into this season with 8 games experience ever in the National Hockey League. And I just think people have to be quick to truly judge it. Now, you may see 2-3 years down the road, you may say, hey, well, Bolduc's turned into a 35-goal scorer. He's okay. But for now, I don't think you can react to just this season or how every game goes down.
I think you're 100% right. And if he were a forward and he wasn't producing, you can compare apple to apple. This is not apple to apple. This is a defenseman who has an incredible upside offensively that's going to take time. It will require patience. They're not all going to be a Cale Makar coming up, a Hudson coming on the scene and tearing it up. He has that ability, as he has shown it at every single level. He will get there, and I think that he's in a great environment to grow, that it's not required of him to be the guy right now. He will get there. It might take a year, but I agree with you. Give it a year and a half, give it 2 years before you evaluate that trade.
Yeah, and the only reason why I brought up Pronger was because, people hated the deal for a couple of years, and then he turned into a great player. And again, I'm not saying that Mayhew's going to turn into Pronger or win a Hart or Norris, but
I think you did. I think you said he's going to turn into Pronger.
But I think people learned after that deal, especially with defensemen, give it some time. And who knows, Jamal, he may get going this year and all of a sudden leap over Justin Falk and end up in the top 4 on the right side this season. You just never know how that's going to play out. So we'll be watching that closely, but there's no question the kid has a ton of ability. And so does Justin Falk too. So I'm not making any projections of how that's going to play out. Thanks for doing this, Jamal. We appreciate it. Who brings you to Hockey Sense every week?
Well, first off, it's Barlino's. They got 5 restaurants: Barlino's South, Barlino's Osteria, Kristen's Pancake and Dining, and Kristen's at the Docket. Barlino's Twin Oaks, our favorite, you and I. They forge many lasting relationships with their customers. Their family model: cook good food, serve plenty. 50+ years in business. Only 2 places to dine: at home or at one of Barlino's family of restaurants.
I love it. What about Dobbs Tires and Auto Centers?
Well, as you know, Dobbs is unbelievable. We always talk about how much of a family atmosphere it is, and the over 45 locations in the St. Louis area and beyond. And what I love about them is that it doesn't matter what's wrong with your car. They can diagnose it, they can fix it, they can get you in and out quickly. They make sure they take care of you. They don't take advantage of you. They make sure that you are a priority and you feel like family. And that's the best thing about them. It doesn't matter what you drive, a car, light truck, van, SUV, a hybrid, whatever it is, they'll get your car in, up, fix, and out the same day. Go to Dobbs.com for more.
I love it. And today sounds like a great day to hop into that hot tub or a sauna. You know that?
Oh, dude. You talk about spas and more. And there's a local master spas dealer with 2 locations, Sunset Hills and Overland Park in Kansas City. Mike Leahy is the owner. He also has his daughter that helps out, family members of the family-run business. Best part is Master Spas is an American hot tub and swim manufacturer that are made in Fort Wayne, Indiana. They're the largest hot tub and swim spa manufacturer in the U.S. They also have the cold tubs from Michael Phelps. Can't wait to get mine. Chili goat tubs. And you think about it, Spas and More offers high quality hot tubs, swim spas, cold tubs, infrared saunas for all of your health, wellness, and relaxation needs. Turn your backyard. Don't be cheap, Andy. Get up there. Give them a call. Turn your backyard into the oasis of your dreams with the Master Spas, some Spas and More, located at 12957 Graboy Road in Sunset Hills, where we put the awe in spa.
Spa. The hot and spa.
Let's go.
I like it. All right, Jammer. Great stuff, man. We'll do it again next week in studio.
Right, yes, let's do it.
See you next Friday.
Thank you.
All right. I hope you enjoyed this edition of Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. Again, check out First Community. Get to that Little Blues program. If you've got a son or daughter looking to get involved in the game of ice hockey, no better way to do that than with the Little Blues program. So check that out and sign them up today. It comes with everything, including all of your equipment. So I know a lot of parents out there, they don't know what to do. They're like, it's way too overwhelming trying to figure out what equipment I need. When you go to the hockey shop, it's way too overwhelming. Well, guess what? When you sign up for Little Blues by First Community, it all comes included, including your skates and your stick and everything else. Plus, you get great instruction for a reasonable cost. You get a number of ice times, I think 6 different practices. And you can do more than one session. So if your son or daughter is between the ages of 4 and 9 with no previous organized hockey experience, then you qualify. So check it out. First Community. Nobody supports hockey in St. Louis like First Community. And you know that to be true. Yes, you do. Blue Mill Roofing, you see it behind me, 314-920-5713. Call David Novak today. How about Chris, our Lordo's Diamonds, Mike and Jimmy Lordo? Who's better than them? They've been around for almost 70 years. You got to be kidding me. Mike and Jimmy Lordo. Are you looking to pop the question? Get that special someone something special in your life with Lordo's Diamonds. They are so good at what they do. Best customer service, best selection. And again, they are truly unbelievable when you think about Lordo's Diamonds. And I talk about the selection. I mean, they have an incredible selection. So if you go in there, you have a $100,000 budget or a $500 budget, whatever it is, $100 budget. Listen, they're going to treat you exactly the same, and they're going to find something within your price range. I promise you. If you're going in there with a $100,000 budget, you might as well have a $500,000 budget. I mean, honestly. But you know what I'm saying. You got a $1,000 budget, $500 budget. You're not going to get treated any differently over at Lordo's Diamonds. They're the absolute best. How about Kirkwood Fence, baby? You know, they recently came and fixed my fence. We had that storm damage. You can get storm damage on your roof, but then you can also get it on your fence as well. Kirkwood Fence to the rescue. And these guys are so good at everything they do. You can get a vinyl fence. You can get old school chain link fence. Any type of fence that you're looking for. Wood fences. Pool fences. If you have a swimming pool, you need a certain pool around your deck. You know, they can take care of that for you as well. Give them a call today, 314-966-3333. And not hard to remember that number at all, 314-966-3333. With Kirkwood Fence. And again, they've been around since 1979. They have all their fences in stock too, so it's not like you have to wait months and months and months for it to come in. They've got the ornamental aluminum fences too. Get their free consultation. I had Tom come out and give me my free consultation. This guy was unbelievable at what he does. But you got Ben, you got everybody over there waiting for your phone call. Call them today. They are top notch when it comes to fencing here in St. Louis. 314-966-3333. Nobody does Kirkwood fencing or nobody does fencing like Kirkwood Fence. How about that? Hackett Security. Yeah, I'm leaving town, but guess what? I have no worries because I've got Hackett Security. Mike Hackett. Are you kidding me? These guys do like big time security jobs too over there with Hackett Security. Like government security, not just residential or some commercial. They do some like really, really big deals where, you know, the highest government agencies are protected by Hackett Security. And that's who they turn to for their security. It's kind of all you need to know. And if you're somebody who's moved to the United States from a different country, maybe you're Russian, maybe you're from China, they've got people who speak all different languages too, which is really unbelievable. So if you're somebody who recently moved from Russia, for example, and listen, they have had people who've done that. There's been blues players who have used Hackett Security. A lot of professional athletes use Hackett Security. And blues players who are Russian, they are more comfortable speaking their native language. Why wouldn't they be? So Hackett Security sends over Russian employees who help them with their security. It's incredible. 314-432-4200. Get the cameras in place and get everything else you need in place to make sure that you can rest comfortably at night when you're not at home. 314-432-4200 for Hackett Security. All right, so the Blues are in Calgary. Then they head over to Vancouver. Then they come home and face Chicago. And a great homestand on the way. looking forward to seeing how things kind of evolve throughout the course of the season. Listen, a lot of hype with this Blues team entering camp and throughout camp. And we've seen this before, whether it's 2019, whether it's last season. Um, it sometimes takes time, right, for things to come together. You don't want to chase it like you did in those individual seasons. It's not like you want to be last in your conference and then all of a sudden have to play catch up and have to have some miraculous run down the stretch to get into the playoffs. I'm not saying that at all. But obviously it's one game, so just everybody take a deep breath collectively, and it may take a few games for this team to truly come together. But I think they will. Um, you see all these young kids that are playing around the NHL. I mean, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds that are finding their way into the National Hockey League. And listen, the Blues could have put some young guys into the NHL right now. Doug Armstrong, he talks about how, you know, when he was forecasting where the organization would be, I think the idea was maybe, hey, start getting some of these first round picks into the NHL for this particular season. And maybe you sacrifice some winning in an effort to get these guys some experience and then obviously, become a competitive team once again. But they were so competitive last season, and getting Holloway and Broberg, I think, with the offer sheets from Edmonton, I think completely changed everything for the organization. They're like, wait, we just got these two guys, and now we're all of a sudden a pretty good team. Then they go out and get Cam Fowler, who obviously has a skill set that you just can't always find. So you get him, and you get a couple of incredible young talented players from Edmonton. That just changes the entire complexion of the organization. And now you're like, okay, we can let these kids develop and marinate down in the American Hockey League, which is where you want them anyway, whether it's Dvorsky or Stancil or Pekarsik, Stenberg, Lindstein, all these guys, Kaskamaki, that they're all going to play. Everyone I just mentioned, they're all going to play in the NHL. So it's just a matter of when they arrive versus will they arrive. There's no question that they will. And they probably would have been here sooner if the team hadn't gotten so competitive so quickly. And that's exactly what happened with the offer sheets, like I mentioned, and then the addition of Cam Fowler and just kind of where this team is set up right now. So it's going to be a fun year. Going to be a long year, but it's going to be a fun year. And we're just one game in. So again, hope you enjoyed this edition of Hockey Sense brought to you by First Community. Great stuff with Jamal Mayers. Once again, always love talking with Jammer. And we'll do that all season long. Your best stop for St. Louis Blues coverage and coverage around the National Hockey League is right here on Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. I'm Andy Strickland for everybody here at Half Coast Studios, reminding you to keep your head up and your stick on the ice. We'll do it again next Friday, as we do each and every week. It's our Friday tradition here on Hockey Sense. Enjoy the hockey, everybody.